Good morning, everyone. My name is Nkemdilim Uwaje Begho. I'm the CEO of Futuresoft, and today I will be taking this week's edition of Lunch and Learn, and I will be talking about the customer experience reimagined and tell you a little bit of a digital transformation story. When it comes to customer experience, we first of all explore what you actually need to know. Then we talk about the digital customer experience. After that, we look at a case study. And that's where I'm going to tell my little story. And then we'll go over to key lessons that we've learned about the customer experience and how you can actually take these into your business and action them. So we'll start with the customer experience and what you need. Here we'll define the term customer experience, or short CX. We'll talk about CX goals, and we'll talk about the benefits of customer experience as well. So when you think about customer experience, the definition is basically a very easy one. But in order to do that, it's just a little bit of context, right? So customers don't just buy your products or services. They perceive the entire process as an experience or a memory that they recall when they're doing business with us again, right? So I'm sure everyone has purchased from brands where the experience has just been really, really horrible. And the only reason why you stuck with it was because you really needed that particular item, right? So I think it's really, really important to ensure that we really think about how do we look at the customer experience, right? How do we reimagine the customer experience, and how do we ensure that the customer experience is being done in the way that we need it to be done, right? So customer experience is basically the sum of all of the experiences and moments a client has before, after, and while using our products or services. So it's not just when they actually purchase, right? It's not just the purchasing experience, it's the entire value chain of experiences that go from lead generation to onboarding to servicing to retention to remarketing and to making a customer your ambassador. In other words, customer experience is the customer's perception of your brand, the ease of engagement and purchase, the quality of customer service, and most of all, how you make them feel, right? And I think this is becoming more and more important, especially as consumer behavior is changing. So every organization should have some kind of customer experience goals. And here's an example of what these customer experience goals could look like. You could be focused on building an omni-channel experience, which is basically focused on creating an experience that is distinctive and delivers value regardless of the customer touch points. It could also focus on digital transformation, right? So this is where you sort of optimize the processes by going digital. And you really look at, okay, how do I... Reporting in progress. And you really look at how do I actually create a customer-centric flow for everything that I'm doing, right? So you would look at everything from your internal processes to the customer-facing processes to the processes that focus on the actual customer experience, right? So it's important to make sure that you are looking at all of these different things when you're creating that experience, right? So when we talk about customer experience, we're really, sort of talking about that omni-channel experience, and we're really sort of looking at how do we build that experience for our customers, right? What needs to happen in terms of digital transformation? Do we need to optimize our processes? Do we need to optimize the people that are operating within this process? What exactly is it that we need to do in order to really thrive, right? And usually what that means is that you have to have customer-centric thinking. And that means that you have to create a customer-centric employee culture, right? So your people have a really big role to play when it comes to the customer experience and how you design the customer experience, how the customer experience is actually shaped. And your employees need to be aligned with the vision of the organization, right? I think that's, sort of like a really, really big part of it. You have to make sure that they really understand what is what does it mean to be customer centric? What does it mean to, what does a great customer experience look like, right? And the last part is capacity building. In order for your team to be able to, be fully equipped with the knowledge and experience to actually deliver that customer experience, you have to make sure that they actually have the right training, right? So you need some level of capacity development around your team members. Now, when we look at customer experience outcomes, right? Guys, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So when it comes to the outcomes of great customer experience, you are basically looking at an improved customer satisfaction and loyalty, which also leads to increased customer lifetime value. You're also looking at the ability to optimize the service offering and cross-sell opportunities. And you're looking at basically creating high level of customer retention and return customers. Customer experience also, or a great customer experience also helps increasing your customer annual spend, as well as the number of referrals that they actually give to you. It also helps with increased revenue, increased benefits to the company that the company can then offer their staff and shareholders, right? So the more money you make because you're increasing your annual spend, the more money you'll be able to pay out in dividends, bonuses, or increased salaries, right? So customer experience is not something that only impacts sort of the customer and how the customer feels, but it actually impacts your bottom line. So it's really, really important that we really think about how do we maximize that in order to grow our bottom line, and how do we use customer experience to achieve that. Now, let's look at the digital customer experience. So here we'll talk a little bit about Consumer 4.0. We'll talk about interconnected experiences, conversations, and humanization and personalization of your customer experience and brand. The Consumer 4.0 is basically the new consumer, right? So, and they demand a more digitized communication, a deeper relationship with your brand, while having a belief-driven purchasing mindset, right? So they're not just buying from you because you have a really great toothpaste, they're buying from you because you also have a great CSR model behind that, right? And when they purchase from you, you're giving one pack of toothpaste to a child somewhere that can't afford toothpaste, right? Something like that is a really great value add that customers will buy in, right? So the more good you do, the more likable you are from a customer perspective, right? So they want a relationship with your brand. They want the communication to be two-way and not one-way, right? So what does this really mean? You can't just have a digital presence anymore, right? Because that's sort of like the foundation and the basics that everybody should have, right? Right now, we're evolving into sort of that presence becoming the platform where you communicate, engage, and attract your target audience, right? So you need to really think about it from a perspective of how do I use my digital assets in order to enhance the customer experience? How do I use those assets in order to engage and communicate with my consumer, right? Product and services are no longer the exclusive focus of your business and the relationship with your customer. Your brand is important. This is your brand identity, how it looks, your brand personality, right? What does the brand actually feel like? Who is this brand, right? If the brand was a person, would I like that person? These things are really, really important. Your values, right? So what values do you actually stand for? How do these values get communicated? And how are they reflected in the customer experience, right? So if you say you're really big on integrity, but every time I call your customer service, you tell me that the thing maybe that I'm talking about isn't true, or it never happened, and you're basically brushing things under the carpet, then chances are that your values aren't aligned with the actual experience that I'm having, right? So values play a really big role. Your consumer involvement plays a really big role. So more than just having purchase-centric relationships, consumers want to be part of the decision-making process as well. They don't just want to consume. So they want to be involved in how does this product actually evolve, right? So let's say you produce a particular brand of leggings, right? And all your customers are saying, you know what, we would like this leggings in red, but you just don't listen, right? At some point, you're not going to have customers anymore, because they will go to a brand that actually listens, right? So communication, product development, product creation is no longer a one-way street. It's a two-way street and involves the consumer, right? Community is also important to consumers. Consumers want to belong to a community and get added value by making a purchase, right? So they want to know that there is something more than just purchasing things. So for example, at Futuresoft, the value add that we have is that we make resources available to our customers, right? We invite them for sessions like these. We create a feeling of community where they get to engage with other CEOs, other board members, right? Through our trainings. And all of these things are value adds, right? Some of them are based on a purchase, some of them are not based on a purchase, right? But with that, we actually build community. So it's important to really understand what is important to Consumer 4.0 and how can you ensure that Consumer 4.0, is well taken care of with the customer experience that you have. Now, another thing that's beginning to become really important is interconnected experiences. So I spoke about omni-channel. Omni-channel basically just means you have multiple touch points that are part of your customer experience, right? So whether online or offline, your consumer is expecting a frictionless customer experience that fits into their day-to-day and lifestyle, right? So I want to be able to chat with the brand on WhatsApp, then go back to Instagram and send them a DM to say, this is what I want from you guys, right? I don't want to then hear, oh, the only way to order this thing is on our website, right? That doesn't make it frictionless, because now I need to go to the website. If the website is not maybe not necessarily mobile friendly, it's going to take me even longer, right? So a lot of people would fall off at that point, right? Because you haven't delivered a frictionless customer experience. So frictionless customer experience is important. It helps you get better reviews. It means that you have quality in all areas, that you're agile, that you're fast, that the customer journey is easy for the customer, not for you. It means that the customer has multiple ways of contacting you, of getting information, multiple purchase channels, as well as multiple support channels, right? So that means that you really need to have an engine behind this that brings all the data to get together of the customer. And regardless of where the customer is engaging with you, that you're able to answer the questions the same way that you would on one particular channel, right? Interconnected means that we must analyze how people go about buying things in the digitally integrated world and tailor our customer journeys accordingly. So the whole ecosystem surrounding your purchase decisions has to take into consideration interconnected experiences when you're sort of looking at how to develop that customer experience. In the interconnected context, the questions you ask are, what's our customer experience strategy, right? So do we have a strategy? And if we do have a strategy, what is the customer experience strategy? Are we optimizing processes for ourselves to make our processes easier, or are we optimizing processes to enhance the customer experience? Who owns this customer experience, right? Who is in charge of the customer experience? How do data and insights support the customer experience and the entire customer experience journey, right? So you really need to also look at, what is the data that I have from my customers? How do I create more data in order to know that I'm on the right track? How do I measure the outcomes of my customer experience strategy, right? So you develop this customer experience strategy, but how do you then go about measuring the actual outcomes? It's really, really important, because a lot of the time the outcomes are what shows you that you're on the right track. But if you don't have the right data to actually measure, you wouldn't really know whether you are doing the right thing or not. Conversations, humanization, and personalization. So I've already talked about, sort of the new type of consumer 4.0. So customer experience has to really focus on service, not sales. It has to orchestrate engagement and not campaigns, right? It has to be human and personalized. So what does that mean? It means that, like I said, communication is no longer one way. Consumers want to be heard and want to be influenced in terms of, how do you develop a product? They want conversations to happen. Brands have to really engage deeply with their consumers. Consumers want brands that are human, right? So you get really frustrated when you are trying to reach customer support and it keeps telling you chat with this bot. And you're like, the bot doesn't know what I want. And I've chatted with the bot 5 times and I'm still not where I am, right? You're frustrated. So that human part of the brand is very, very important. Brands that care, right? That care about the community, that care about the society, that care about the consumer. So that's really, really important. People want brands that showcase the humans behind them, right? So yeah, it's great if you have seamless processes and you can automate most of these things, but I still want to know who are the people behind this, and how does the work that I, or the purchases, the products, the services I consume, how does that actually help the people behind it, right? What are the stakeholders? Who are the communities they operate in? All of that becomes more and more important, and you need to find ways of communicating that as part of the customer experience. Like I mentioned, data plays a big role in knowing your customer. So you have to go out with the generic and in with segmentation and personalization, right? So what does that mean? It means that you need to have customer touch points that allow you to profile your customer more and more deeply, right? So you need more and more information about me in order to actually sell the right product to me. This can happen through consultations, it can happen through customers filling forms, it can happen through customer filling surveys, it can happen by looking at what are they actually purchasing, right? And then figuring out how do you make recommendations in terms of what they need or want. The technology used is secondary, but the information, so the technology used is secondary and informed by the strategies, which should be 100% data driven. So what does that mean? It means that the technology that drives your customer experience is not as important as the actual strategy and the data behind it, right? So yes, you need technology to drive your customer experience and for the customer experience to actually be digital. But in the bigger picture, it's the actual strategy and the data that is behind it that makes it work. Now we'll go into my little story, right? And the story is about cocktails that never came and how I spent a Sunday afternoon thinking about optimizing a customer experience. So I was at the pool with my friend, who is also a digital transformation consultant, and we ordered margaritas. And as you may already sort of see, things didn't happen, right? The margaritas never showed up. And we started talking about the inefficiencies of the paper-based system. We started talking about the inefficiencies of the actual onboarding process, right? Of renewal and retention processes. We started talking about, sort of what are the digital marketing channels that this organization is actually using. So I decided to make this Forcefully Dry Sunday into an insightful case study, which I'm going to share with you today. So first of all, let's meet the client. So the client is a well-known pool club that is based in Lagos and caters to upwardly mobile Lagosian families with kids between 3 and 15, as well as fitness enthusiasts who have chosen swimming as their fitness activity, right? So we've done a little bit of a SWOT analysis here. What are the strengths? So the strengths is that they have a great facility. It's one of a kind. There's no other facility that has the same type of amenities, and it's in a great location. What are the weaknesses? The processes and people of this pool club are stuck in the 80s, right? Everything is pen and paper. There's no automation from the onboarding process all the way to sort of, actually consuming the service, to getting new customers in. Everything is being done manually, and it's extremely cumbersome. So you basically are pretty frustrated by the entire service that leads to also having canceled orders, which again leads to loss of revenue, right? So we were at this pool club for probably 4 hours and the drinks never came, right? We asked about them multiple times and they still never came, right? Which also already shows you that even on the people side, the processes are very, very outdated. In terms of what are the opportunities, so there's a big opportunity for digital transformation as a strategic driver for an optimized customer experience. There's the opportunity to expand the service offering and to grow revenue. Also an opportunity to increase customer satisfaction across board using digital transformation, right? In terms of the threats, if a competitor opens a similar facility with a better customer experience, this establishment will probably go out of business pretty fast. It's also not attractive to Gen Z, right? So the Gen Z generation wants everything digital, and once they actually start having kids, it means that they would probably not patronize this business, right? Which means that the business is not future-proof. When you think about your business, you must think cross-generational, right? So you must think about the people who are your customers today, the people who will be your customers tomorrow, right? In order to make sure that you're over time future-proofing the business. Now, let's look at the current customer experience. So we start with the lead generation part, right? So how do they currently generate leads? So they have flyers that they distribute sometimes. Sometimes they have events, they have some walk-in customers, as they're also part of a hotel. So they have some people who walk in order to actually access the hotel, and then they get a free pass to the pool club with their stay at the hotel. Then they have word of mouth and referrals, which is probably their strongest lead generation apparatus, right? So you can see that there's nothing digital here at all. No email marketing, no social media, nothing. In terms of the onboarding, right, the process is quite cumbersome. So you need to get a form, a paper form, which you fill. You can also request for the paper form in PDF format, but you need to fill it. You need to make sure it's signed, and then you need to resubmit the paper form back to them together and with the payment, right? So either you can pay upfront, or you pay as you're submitting the form, right? So you submit the form with passport pictures, proof of identity, and things like that. So there's a lot of in-person interaction that happens, right? So you may end up going there multiple times if you don't have all the information that they require immediately. Via email, it's a little bit easier because you can, sort of look for all the information and send it back once you have it. The payment confirmation is manual, right? So once you send the email, you have to wait several days before they confirm that it's been paid, and then they will let you know when you can pick up your membership cards. There is, however, a digital membership register that they have, right? Which they also use to sort of check the validity of your membership when they issue the cards. Now, in terms of the servicing, so when you go to the pool club, it works like this. You go there, you show your card. They take the card, they look at the expiry date, then they check it in the system to make sure that that number of the card actually exists. And then they give you a paper wristband to allow you to go in, right? They also sort of look at, so that verification is completely manual, right? If you're bringing guests, you write their names on a piece of paper, you make the payment there. Again, completely manual. They also get a wristband. So then when it comes to the actual sort of consumption of food, right? So they have a restaurant as part of the pool club, so you can order food and drinks, right? All of this is done either by a waiter that walks by and gives you a paper-based menu, which you then have to go and return, or they come and retrieve. And then the payment is done via card or cash, right? So this is again, very cumbersome. When the POS is down, there's no option for transfer. There's no other way to make payment, right? Which means that you then have to go back to the front desk to figure out how to make those payments, right? Again, because the orders are being taken by pen and paper, there's a lot of mistakes that happen in terms of getting orders right, in terms of getting orders to guests on time. Even when you order sort of an hour before you intend to eat, chances are that your food will not arrive on time. When it comes to sort of the retention part of the customer experience, there's really reliance on the client renewing. So there's no real activity that happens here, right? So there's no hi, or an email that says, hi, your subscription has elapsed. Would you like to renew, right? Nothing. It's just like, if they come back, they come back, and we're just going to see what happens. When it comes to the remarketing, sometimes they have flyers that they give out, but that's pretty much it. So flyers with some level of offers. When it comes to turning your clients into brand ambassadors, there's, again, a very heavy reliance on the actual customer, right? So they expect customers to just talk about, the pool club, because it's the only one with these facilities, right? So if we go back to the strengths, and we go back to sort of looking at why is this so great? And why would people even recommend it, even though the service experience is so bad? It's simply because this is one of the only facilities like this, right? As I said, it's in a great location that is easily accessible. It's safe for children. It's a great way to spend the afternoon with your kids, without having to constantly entertain them, because there's so many different, pools and different slides that they can use. Now, if we reimagine this customer experience, right, the customer experience map looks very different here, right? So for lead generation, we still have the offline methods of walk-in customers, word of mouth and referrals, and flyers and events. But what we would add, right, to a reimagined customer experience is social media posts, right? A website with a landing page specifically for the pool club, and an online form that you can fill, right? We would add email marketing that markets to the larger database, to people who have stayed at the hotel before, right? So anywhere that you can get information from, you would market to them. Any type of, sort of family-oriented events that you're doing, you would get the email addresses of those people that attend and then market to them. You would probably use email marketing and use third-party emails, email newsletters to market the offering as well, right? And then you would probably have a physical and digital brochure that you can use to also market the experience. Now, in terms of the onboarding, how would that sort of change, right? So definitely having a digital form, right? Get rid of the paper-based form, get rid of the PDF form, have a digital form that is on the landing page that people can fill easily, and people can upload the information that needs to be uploaded, and that gets sent directly into the membership management database, right? This would be integrated with a payment gateway so that you have automatic payment confirmations, right? And your membership would automatically be activated, right? So similar to how you can make an online payment on QuickTeller to get your DSTV activated again, and it's sort of immediate, right? So your TV is off, you make the payment, a few minutes later, it starts showing again because it's automated. This would also be sort of, I guess, enhanced with a membership management app, right? So basically having an app that once you're onboarded as a member, you download the app, right? And this app would then help with the actual servicing, right? So first of all, let's think about how would people go into this pool club, right? So once they have their access card, they should be able to swipe the card or use their thumbprint to actually access the pool club, right? Guest access, so if they're bringing in any type of guests or friends, they should be able to manage that via the app, right? So the app should be able to allow them to specify name and age of the guest, make the appropriate payments, and then maybe receive a QR code that again can be scanned by the entrance machine and allow the person to go in, right? The membership management app would also play a really big role in all of this, right? Because that app could serve as the menu, right? So on the app, you would have your menu with all the prices, all the different things, and an ordering system that is integrated. So you would basically have maybe a number on the lounger that you've selected, right? So let's say my lounger is lounger number 4. I would put in, I'm on lounger number 4. I want a pizza and a margarita, right? Then I would also sort of make payment via the app, right? So in this ideal scenario, there is preloaded credit that I can load on the app, and it just deducts, right, from that credit, and I'm able to, seamlessly and cashless, completely cashless, make my order. That order would then be sent to the kitchen, and then once it's ready, it would be brought to me, right? So that way you have no paper at all, right? When it comes, no paper menu, no paper slip where they've written your order, no paper receipts, nothing. Everything is fully digital, right? You would also sort of look at email newsletters that you send to your customers, right? So you would tell them about things that are happening at the poolside during the festive periods. You would talk to them about, subscriptions being about to expire, right? So you would have automated reminder emails when their subscriptions are about to elapse so that they can renew. And the renewal would not require you to fill the form all over again, but the renewal would basically be done on the app. All you need to do is, again, go on the app, make your payment, and automatically you are basically back online and your card is automatically continues to be active, right? They don't need to issue a new card for you. They don't need to, issue new wristbands, because once it's active, it works on the access control. Now, when we think about retaining customers, right? So I already mentioned sort of automated reminders to tell customers, okay, your subscription is about to elapse, sending them special offers, right? Another way is to integrate loyalty points into the app so that the organization can basically issue loyalty points to customers for the consumption. So a brand that does that really well is Ebano. So every time you purchase something at Ebano supermarket, if you have a loyalty card, you can scan it and you get loyalty points, right? For every 200,000 that you spend at Ebano, right, you get 2,000 Naira equivalent of points that you can redeem, right? So for people who have that as their primary purchasing supermarket, over the period of a year, right, you then have credit that you can use to, sort of purchase different things. So that is a cash-based sort of bonus. It could also be loyalty points that can be used for a hotel stay, right? It could be loyalty points that could be used for, maybe access to additional facilities that the hotel has, right? Or that allows you to use those points for a free hamburger or whatever it is, right? Also having push notifications on the mobile, right? That push new offers to you, that push reminders to you about your subscription would be ideal. Then we go to the remarketing, right? So here we sort of look at what do we need to do to, remarket the customers and to cross-sell. So again, in-app notifications and with deals and promos, right? So let's say you say, okay, you know what, this weekend you get, it's sort of buy two, get one free for pizzas, right? So for everyone who purchases 2 pizzas, you get a pizza for free. And you're sending this offer via your email list, and you're also putting it in the in-app notifications. You would have this information on the website as well. You would put it on social media, and you may decide to run targeted ads, right? So this is a way to remarket to the existing customers and get them to come that weekend, because you only actually generate revenue when you have people at the pool. So I may have an active subscription or membership, but I'm not at the pool, right? So you want also to be top of the mind for me to be at the pool. So I come back every single weekend, and that I make that my primary place of spending time with my family on the weekend, right? Now, when it comes to making your customer an ambassador, here again, having an app-based referral system, right? So allowing me to invite friends, right? And again, earning loyalty points or free pizza or whatever it is by inviting friends. So once they become a member, I then, sort of either get a discount on my next subscription renewal, or I can get a free pizza, or I get something that, would make me excited to actually refer, right? And with the referral link, that referral link would take the person to the landing page. They would be able to fill in the form, right? And the onboarding automatically would happen. And then they would go into that cycle, right? So you want to make sure that your customers are also actively creating referrals for you, right? Social media obviously would also be a great way to make customers ambassadors, right? So if you have a hashtag for your brand, so let's say hashtag pool club, and people, so you say post your picture and stand a chance of winning an annual pass for free, then you would have many people who would participate in that, right? And post their pictures and videos of them or their families having fun at the pool club, right? So that way you create a lot of user-generated content, and you also ensure that the customers do the work of making sure that you sort of get new leads. Now, I'm sure you can see that this reimagined customer experience is much more detailed and more extensive, and obviously requires a lot of technology. But the most important thing, again, behind this is the strategy and the data, right? So you need to have the right type of data. Now, what is the strategic approach when you think about reimagining your customer experience, right? You first should sort of have a customer experience questionnaire that you give to your customers to understand what are their pain points, what are the things that they really, really hate about the customer experience, right? Where is the friction? That's what you need to find out, because without knowing that, you won't be able to actually, sort of eliminate it. Then also testing your customer experience, right? Have mystery shoppers that go in and actually test the customer experience. Having a one-page customer charter, right? So this is a document with your customer promise, right? What do you promise the customer as the customer experience? You also need to then, once you know the pain points, you know the friction, review all of the processes, the internal processes, external processes, where are the lapses, what role can digital play, right? And that's where you then sort of build that digital customer experience model, right? So you basically map out the customer experience the way that I've done in the previous slide, and sort of look at how do I enhance the customer experience with this model, right? And what role does technology play? The next step would be to then create an actual digital transformation strategy and roadmap, where you review the processes, people, and the actual customer experience, right? So processes in terms of operational internal processes, people in terms of skill, culture, right? And then customer experience in terms of processes, touch points, and how much friction you have in the customer experience. So once you optimize all of that, you then also sort of use that information to create a customer experience framework, right? That customer experience framework will outline the type of customer experience that you wish to deliver, the customer experience goals that are part of the, sort of that customer experience framework. So what do you want to deliver? What are the goals that you want to achieve with that, right? And what are the desired outcomes? All of that would be defined, and then timeframes, and how do you implement this? What are the activities that need to happen in order for this to be implemented properly? It's also recommended to have a customer experience advisory panel. So this could consist out of senior managers in your organization, as well as actual customers, as well as independent parties, right, that have nothing to do with the establishment, right? And they are responsible for continuously testing the customer experience, continuously challenging the customer experience until it becomes much better. Now, from a culture perspective, you also need to review your sort of model of how do you reward and incentivize your staff, right? You have to review the training planning that you're doing. You have to think about, is the work environment good enough to attract the right type of talent? So sometimes you have legacy staff that may not be able to make it into this digital customer experience, which means that you may need to hire new people. You have to hire new people. You definitely need to make sure that they come into an environment that is in line with, sort of what they're used to, from maybe other digitally driven organizations. You have to make sure that your culture is customer centric, and that you basically implement an experience that is distinctive and delivers value, right? So it's important that you really think about, how do I do that? And then you need to obviously keep optimizing. So as you keep optimizing this customer experience, it will keep getting better. So optimization means that you have data points to measure, you have metrics that you're measuring those data points against, and you have ways of making sure that the data that comes out of measuring the metrics, right, is data that you can turn into actual insights that are then actionable into tasks that will optimize further, right? So as you keep optimizing, you start seeing, more and more results, right? And then obviously you need to sort of repeat it from the beginning again, and have a customer questionnaire again to evaluate satisfaction, right? So in the case of the pool club, they could have a, sort of rating and review feature integrated into the app, where from time to time it asks you, oh, could you just, tell us how we're doing? We've implemented these new features. What do you like them? Do you not like them? And have very easy feedback in terms of maybe 1 to 5 stars, thumbs up, thumbs down. That really helps you understand, do people like this? Do people not like this? And that will allow you to sort of further optimize the experience. Now, what are the key lessons from this story? The consumer is evolving, and so are their needs, right? I think that is the most important thing that we really need to take into cognizance when we talk about customer experience. Customer experience matters in more ways than one, right? It drives customer satisfaction, loyalty, spend, retention, and referrals, right? And like I said at the beginning, the customer experience is directly correlated to your bottom line, right? So not innovating is really not an option. To survive, innovation and agility have to become second nature in your business. And as competitors or substitutes spring up, right? Sometimes it's not a direct competitor with the same offering, but it can be a substitute that just offers a better customer experience. So instead of going to the swimming pool, I can take my kids to the trampoline park, or I can take them to play basketball in a new basketball court, right? So there are many options, or I can take them to the beach. There are many options that are available as substitutes for this pool club. So it's not just new competitors that actually pose a threat, but also the substitutes that are getting better and better. So the importance of great customer experience is not a nice to have, right? It's really a must have, and every brand really needs to look at how they can optimize the customer experience in order to drive customer satisfaction, loyalty, spend, retention, and referrals. Now, in terms of recommendations that I can make for sort of every organization, review your brand identity, values, and touch points, right? How, does the brand identity look good? What values do you have? And are those values reflected in the customer experience? What are the customer experience touch points, right? What are the different points on your customer experience map that you actually use? Update and optimize your buyer personas and customer profiles, right? So because you have customers in different generations, it's important to sort of have cross-generational personas and profiles, because you would sell, service, and retain every customer or customer segment in a different way. Invest in customer experience strategy and interconnected customer journeys, right? It's really important to really think about how it all comes together. Invest in reliable data that can give you consumer insights, right? So you need mechanisms to actually collect this customer data, to mine the data, analyze the data, and make the data, turn the data into insights. You have to engage and include your consumer in product design and customer journey optimization, right? So how do you make sure that they are actually included, right? How can you, talk to them face to face, talk to them online, use social media, use polls, use surveys, use the app that you have, use your website to actually engage with your customers and learn a little bit more about how they perceive the journey and what you could make better. Sometimes your customers have much deeper understanding of how to optimize an experience than you have, because you're sort of in the business, you're operational, right? Humanize and personalize your brand and your customer experience as much as possible, right? So make sure that, you know, you have a personal touch in your customer experience. Constantly innovate around your customer experience. It may just be the right time to hire a chief customer experience officer. So that's what we are actually seeing in many organizations, that they now have this role, chief customer experience officer, that is responsible for the optimization of the customer experience, right? And this person basically has a team that works tirelessly at automating and optimizing the customer experience and reducing friction or eliminating friction totally, right? Invest in your people, upskill your people, and ensure that you have the right type of change management in place as well. Those are the key things that, you know, every organization should really be looking at. And with that, I shall end. I just wanted to also talk about the digital transformation services that we offer. We offer trainings around digital transformation strategy for board members and executives. We offer customer experience design, process optimization trainings. We offer trainings around the role of people and culture in digital transformation, as well as corporate governance in the digital age. When it comes to strategy workshops, we also offer workshops that help you with your customer experience optimization. We offer workshops that focus on achieving operational excellence. So that's basically sort of reviewing internal processes, as well as workshops that focus on people and culture in the digital era. We also offer consultancy services around digital transformation audits and digital transformation strategies. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, I will be happy to take them at this time. So if you have questions, maybe you can just unmute yourself and ask the questions.
Hi. Can we hear me?
Hi. Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Chinedum, royalty.io. We've spoken earlier from the Institute. First of all,
yes.
this session, this session was very helpful, and I think in our last meeting, the platform you suggested for customer support and connecting was very helpful, and I see it being useful in some of the steps and processes you mentioned here, especially for customer feedback. And also, I think a question, or I guess, would be if there's any particular platform you would suggest for some of the other requirements or things that we need to do, like measuring customer success or happiness or feedback. I know the other platform was mostly for support and messaging, and also some of the other, if there's any other suggestion you have. Also keep in mind, because we're looking to have thousands of customers, so it has to also be easily scalable and easily usable for the admins company. So yeah, thank you.
Yes. All right, thank you for the question. I think that's a really good question. So I think one of the key metrics for customer satisfaction is the Net Promoter Score. So you can maybe research this a little bit, but it's basically a score that uses different, sort of sub-metrics to measure actual customer satisfaction across the value chain, right? I would also say, for a platform like yours that is, sort of app-based and where you may not have access to the individual customers, right? Having prompting them to offer reviews, as well as prompting them to sort of be part of the product design, right? So you could have open product design sessions where you discuss new features and you invite them to actually participate, right? So that is the point around sort of community building, where you can really start building a community around the customers and getting them to make suggestions in terms of what you build next, right? Because you want them to, sort of really tell you what is it that would make this product even better than it already is. then I would also say, in terms of the sort of having star ratings, right? So, from time to time prompting. So the same way that, I don't know, your Audible app prompts you to say, would you like to rate this app or review this app? And then you can just put in the stars that you would give, and you can write some comments. Having the same thing for your app as well, right? Those reviews are, first of all, if they're good reviews, they are great for you to sort of use them for remarketing and sort of cross-selling, as well as getting new leads in, because everybody wants to use a tool that is already rated really, really high. But it also allows you to learn, right? So when you get poor ratings, figuring out how do you reach out to those customers directly to fix their problems, to address those problems in the next release that you're building out, right? To maybe also think about, what do I need to do from a perspective of, sort of a knowledge-based content, webinars that I can hold for customers to help them with some of these issues that they have, right? So if you have customers that come with, the same issue over and over again, and they just don't know how to use certain features, or they are asking for features that are already existing, doing videos, doing webinars, doing, sort of customer support sessions really, really helps. So I think it's about figuring out what is sort of a multi-channel avenue for actually engaging customers, right? And getting the customers to share their pain points, right? So that you know where your friction lies, and then keeping sort of a register of all those friction points and starting to eliminate them one by one. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it was helpful. Yeah, it does to an extent. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions, comments? If there are no further questions or comments, then I will close this session. And thank you so much for your participation. Thank you for the questions, and see you at the next Lunch and Learn. Thank you.